by turning toward the camera near the welcoming congregation banner, waving and saying hello from right where you are. Hello, 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 hello. For those in the sanctuary, please take a moment to greet one another. Good morning. Hope you are all well on this beautiful, if slightly wet, spring morning. May we all rejoice in the beauty of this morning, this special, special time of year. We gather together in our individual and collective journeys towards spiritual growth, social transformation, and environmental responsibility, and living out these values through worship, reflection, connection, and service. You are part of a community that welcomes all individuals, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, income, ability, or spiritual beliefs. Whether in person or via live stream, we share this precious time and space together. Let's rejoice in our time together. After worship, all are invited to coffee, refreshments, and conversation in the Sims room. Our minister, Reverend Heather, is in Iowa this weekend, attending the memorial service for a dear friend. This morning, our worship leader is Ivan Correa, a fellow member of the Worship Associates team, and like me, a member of our governing board. At noon, those not attending the rummage sale volunteer meeting are invited to a conversation with State Senator Jason Lewis here in the sanctuary. Senator Lewis will join us to listen to the issues of importance to our community and to discuss legislative priorities in the current session. Now, let us open our hearts and minds to the spirit of worship.
Morning. Every little thing that breaks your heart is welcome here. We'll make a space for it, give it its due time and praise for the wanting it represents, the longing for something more, some healing hope that remains not. Yet we promise no magic, no making it all better, but offer only this circle of trust, this human community that remembers, though imperfectly, that sings and prays, though sometimes awkwardly, this gathering that loves, though not yet enough. We're still practicing after all, still learning, still in need of help and partners, still becoming able to receive all this beauty and all these gifts we each bring. Come, let us worship together.
I now invite Jeremiah Fowler to light our chalice. We dedicate the chalice with words by Max Kutz. May God, the mind that sees our faults, the tears that sting our wounds, the laugh that soothes our aches, and the love that redeems us all, be illuminated by the light we kindle in this house of faith. Thank you, Jeremiah. Please rise in body or in spirit in singing our opening hymn, number 7, in the gray hymnal, The Leaf Unfurling.
is His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who is the leader of the Tibetan people. And this is Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who is the leader of the Anglican Church, a Christian church in South Africa. So they came from very different places, very different experiences in some ways, and they met as adults and they became great friends, and they wrote this book together. The book is called The Little Book of Joy. One of us grew up in a little house. One of us grew up in a big house. Our houses were on opposite sides of the world. Often, we were sad and lonely. Both of us wished for a friend. Sometimes the other kids wouldn't let us play, or were very far away. We wondered if we would always be sad and lonely. But when we sat still and breathed in the quiet, we noticed something beautiful. We're noticing the beautiful things around them. If you focus on the thing that is making you sad, then the sadness is all you see. But if you look around, you will see that joy is everywhere. Joy is the warm, tingly feeling of the sun tickling your toes in the morning. Has anyone felt that feeling before? Yes. It's the giggly, squiggly feeling when you were doing something silly. I see them jumping on the bed. Has anybody ever jumped on the bed? Yes, definitely. Anybody out there ever jumped on the bed? Absolutely. And it's the soft, snuggly feeling of being all wrapped up, cozy in your bed at night. I felt that yesterday after our canoe trip. It was a little chilly. Even when you are caught in the rain and your joy is washed away, it's waiting at the bottom of a puddle. Even if you slam the door and your joy can't get in, it's just on the other side, waiting in a loving hug. And even if there's a loud noise in the night and your joy gets scared away, it comes streaming right back with the light of the silvery moon. Joy is the bubbly, bouncy feeling of finding a good friend. And once you let joy in, like magic, your heart always has room for more. We discovered that the more joy we shared, the more joy we had. And the more joy we had, the more joy we could share. So, look for the joy all around you and share it. Write it in a letter. Play it on a drum. Sing it to the sky. It will travel up in the air, across the ocean. Someone will find it and share it. And as it spreads from person to person, the world will fill with joy. All right, so we'll ask our grown-ups to sing us to RE classes. The words are in the order of service.
I now invite you into a time of centering, first through words and then through ritual. kindling of the light, a time to light a candle here in the sanctuary or at home to signify a joy or a sorrow you carry inside. At that time, if you would like a candle brought to you, please raise your hand. After we kindle the light, we will be together during a time of shared silence. Out of the silence, we will sing, "There is a Love." The words are printed in your order of service. This morning's meditation is by Thomas Rhodes. He writes, "Let us enter into a time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer. Feel the earth beneath your feet as it supports you. Feel the love of this community as it surrounds and enfolds you. Feel your breath as it flows in and out of your body. Listen to your heartbeat. Listen to your heart. And how is it with your heart? Does your heart feel whole, shielded by intellect, cocooned by reason, closed to feeling? Or is it broken, fragile to the touch, brimming with the pain of loss? Or has your heart been broken and healed so many times that it now lies open to the world, knowing that true growth comes not without pain, that tears may wear down barriers, that we may carry the heart of others, even when our own is too heavy for us to bear? None of us has an unblemished heart, not one. For such perfection can be found only in death, and we who are alive still have much to heal. So let us give thanks for the broken places in our hearts and in our lives, for it is only through such brokenness that we may truly touch one another, and only through touching one another that the world may be healed. Let us give then thanks for the brokenness that we share. Let us now kindle the light. Barbara Myers is a Unitarian Universalist community minister whose ministry focuses on mental health issues. In her book, Held, Showing Up for Each Other's Mental Health, she speaks frankly about her mental health struggles and issues in the early years of her life. Myers names 4 of our UU principles that are of particular importance to those struggling with mental health. First, the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
A person with a mental health difficulty can sometimes doubt their own worth. This principle assures them that we believe all people have worth. Within each person is a spark of divinity, and when I'm with a person with a mental problem, I concentrate on seeing that spark within them.
The second principle, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations.
The word compassion comes from the Latin for suffer with, and the ability to suffer with one another is the foundation of much mental health support.
Third, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations.
To live and thrive, people need a safe and caring place in which they're accepted and encouraged to grow.
Fourth, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning.
This has resonance for people who are building up their mental world after a crisis of depression or delusion. It encourages them to create a spiritual structure that works for them with the support of a religious community. Every Sunday, as we did today, we set aside a time to light candles. We light a flame on the candle table and in the pews and in our homes, and the invitation is to recognize a joy or sorrow in our lives through ritual. Our joys and pain flicker together, and in the end, we are surrounded by warmth and light. Joy and pain are feelings. We frequently want to say, I do not want to feel that pain anymore. However, we can shut down pain and also feel joy at the same time. If you mute one aspect of your emotional experience, you're going to mute it all. There's one mute button. It takes a lot of courage to allow ourselves to feel pain. When we are suffering, many of us are better at causing pain than feeling it. Dirk Stryker, I warned you, introduced me to the writings of Arthur Brooks, a really good book, From Strength to Strength. Arthur Brooks teaches leadership and happiness at Harvard. His classes are immensely popular, and he also has a podcast that I listen to quite frequently on how to build a happy life. I highly recommend listening to the first 8 episodes. Anyway, in the podcast, Brooks says that the 3 macronutrients to living a happy life, and they include joy, purpose, and satisfaction. My sermon today is going to be on that first macronutrient, joy. In one of the episodes on how to live with pain, the hospice and palliative care physician B.J. Miller says that joy comes to those who have known and felt deep pain. He should know. B.J. Miller survived an electric jolt of 11,000 volts and lost 3 of his limbs in an accident. His wisdom on pain and suffering help us come to grips with the struggle of being human, which means feeling pain and coming alive in meaningful ways. When people are asked about what brings happiness and purpose to their life, they always talk about their most painful periods in their life. They remember that breakup, the ugly breakup when they got fired, the bankruptcy when their kids had to go to rehab. That's when they talk about the stuff that they were made of, and when they really understood the nature of their own souls. The Austrian composer Franz Schubert, thank you, John, is known for his exquisite melodies. He also suffered from mood springs and extreme sorrow. He is quoted as saying, "My compositions spring from my sorrows. Those that give the world the greatest joy was born of my deepest pain." Each morning I read from the Book of Common Prayer by Anglicans and Episcopalians worldwide. I was looking for inspiration for this sermon, and I came across a reading in Luke chapter 5, and an imaginative writing on this reading by Jeremy Myers that I will share with you. I will then tell a short personal story, I guess highly recommended when you're doing sermons, and finally bring that focus back to pain in our community. Let me start with the reading. It's a reading from Luke chapter 5, verses 12 to 14, when Jesus heals a man with leprosy, a disease with a terrible stigma, thousands of years ago. While Jesus was in one of the towns, a man came along who was covered with leprosy. When he saw Jesus, he fell with his face to the ground and begged him, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. "I'm willing," he said, "be clean." And immediately the leprosy left him. Of course, there is a scientist in me that had many questions about this reading. Was the Mycobacterium completely zapped? These are intracellular obligate bacteria that are found in nerve cells. Did the disease ever return? We have no idea about the extent of the disease. Were all the disfigured parts restored? And then the whole question of miracles. Well, of course we call them miracles because we frankly don't know what else to call them. They're unexplainable. They're something we cannot rationally come to grips with in our mind. Something amazing just happened. Let's give this reading some color. Let's imagine a man in his early 30s with a beautiful wife and 2 sweet little children. After a long day at work, he comes home and shows his wife a small sore that developed on his hand. He notices the sore getting larger and larger, but it still doesn't hurt. After a few days, the wife persuades him to go and see a person in town who knows about such things. The man with some training says to the younger man, "I'm sorry to inform you that you have leprosy. You're going to have to leave your wife and children, your land, your home, your job, and go off to live with the other lepers out behind the town." Hearing this, the man is terrified. It is a death sentence. Lepers are never allowed to be near their loved ones again. And the process of dying by leprosy is worse than dying itself. In most cases, the body of the person just rots to pieces while the person continues to live. But this is not what terrifies the man. He's not afraid of dying. He's not afraid of the process leading up to it. What he's afraid of is the complete separation and isolation that's about to begin. So the man goes off, alone, to rot, to die. He couldn't even have an animal for a companion. If he patted the head of a dog, the dog had to be killed so that it did not carry the disease back to the city. This man lived a truly horrible life. The reading says that the man was full of leprosy, an advanced case, and he was likely quite disfigured. One day he looks up, and there's a small group of people following a man who's teaching them as he walks. Jesus and the man with him are getting closer, and he knows what the law tells him to do. So he starts shouting, "Unclean, unclean, stay away from me." But something strange happened. Even as the other men drew back, Jesus keeps coming closer. Doesn't he know the law? The man thought to himself, if Jesus gets any closer, he will become unclean himself. And the man begins to cover himself in his rags so that he can hobble away from Jesus. But by then, Jesus is close enough so the man can look into his eyes. And he sees something that he hasn't seen in another human being for many, many years. He doesn't see loathing. He sees concern. He doesn't see fear. He sees sympathy. He doesn't see rejection. He sees love. And when he sees this in the eyes of Jesus, he falls on his face and implores him, saying, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." Can you hear this man's anguish? He was sick of being treated like garbage. He was sick of being rejected and despised. And Jesus put out his hand and touched him, saying, "I am willing, be cleaned." How many years had it been since someone touched this man? He couldn't even pet a dog without it being killed. The touch said, "I am here with you. I sympathize with you when no one else does." The miracle was this man needed love just as much, if not more, than he needed healing. Oh, the healing will be wonderful, of course, but he needed to feel the simple joy of connection. This simple act of kindness brought joy to someone stigmatized by society over 1,000 years ago. A personal story, not leprosy. This happened a few years ago after one of our amazing lunches in Metcalf Hall. My wife Sheila was on the fellowship committee, and I was giving her a hand with cleaning up after sweeping the floors. A young child noticed me with a broom and innocently turned around to his mother and said, "Mom, the janitors are here." Innocent enough observation that left me quite pained at the time because of the association of my color with a certain occupation. The innocence of this child observing that folks of color are generally the help in their homes. Don Daniel and Rebecca were both with me at the time, and I remember telling Don that I can deal with these associations, but my pain stemmed from my boys and other kids like them that have to navigate the real world saddled with labels placed on them because of how they looked or how they dressed or the choices they make. This incident prompted me to step out of my comfort zone, and when an opportunity was presented to serve as worship associate, I said yes. Thank you, Peter McEntee. I remember that time, that moment. I felt an urgency to not only step up to the task of showing some diversity up here, but to also use this platform to participate and discuss issues that impact all of us. I frequently mention this painful incident, but in the same breath, also talk about the joys of serving as worship associates. Thank you, Heather, and all my worship associates, Stephen, Peter, Marcy, etc. Dr. Gibson, Dr. Harris, for just enriching this experience. Okay, my third part of the sermon is about our community and hurting. We live in a hurting world, especially among the younger generations. Heather recently circulated an article by Tanner Linden, a Gen Z religious professional serving the Church of the Larger Fellowship. Gen Z, by the way, are youth from the age of 11 to 26. In this article, Tanner acknowledges the different habits of the Gen Z generation. He says, there is no doubt that Gen Z have different habits than preceding generation. Thanks to the internet and smart devices, the environment we've grown up is unique and unlike any generation before. We spend more time online, go outside less, and care about very different things than our parents did when they were our age. One of the most significant issues facing our generation is a sharp decline in mental health. Here's the strange part. While we are fully aware of the mental health crisis and what's causing us, our phones are too good to give up. We can hear the anguish in Tanner's voice when he suggests how the UU Church could help. Do you remember the line from the scripture where, when the leper reached out and said, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." He also, how the UU Church can help. So Tanner also suggested reading Barbara Meyer's book, Held, Showing Up for Each Other's Mental Health. I picked up Barbara Meyer's book where I discovered she's a UU minister whose ministry focuses on mental health issues. She speaks frankly about her mental health issues and struggles in the early years of her life. As you heard from our reading today, Barbara Meyer speaks of the 4 UU principles that we went over that are extremely relevant to those struggling with mental health. The core of all spiritual work is to help in processing pain, stored pain. So I end today's sermon by asking, what pain have you known? How can you use that pain to help and heal others? What miracles might you be carrying out this very second in your life? Look around and see the hungry that need food, the water to be walked on. What can a little faith get you? I also wonder what miracles has this church been part of here in Winchester for all these years. Miracles of who we have been, miracles of who we are becoming, the miracle of letting go of something so we can, with God's help and blessing, grab a hold of something new. If Scripture tells us anything, it is that a little faith can get us a whole lot, more than we realize. Never think that we're nothing more than a spectator in the ministry of this church. Hold fast to the belief that miracles happen and trust that your role in them is as important as the faith you cling to in the wilderness with thousands and on stormy seas. What a little faith can get you indeed. Amen.
Thank you, Ivan. Now comes that important time for us to make an offering to support this self-supporting church and its ministries. The last few years have been tough for us individually, but there has also been a tough time for the financial health of the Winchester Unitarian Society. Giving makes possible the many benefits that this wonderful community supports. In addition to supporting our own community, we want to play a positive role in the world around us, in our actions and in our gifts. For this reason, we choose to share the plate every week. This morning, we share our gifts with the Massachusetts Association for Mental Health, whose mission is to advance mental health and well-being by promoting prevention, early intervention, effective treatment, and research to address social, emotional, and mental health challenges, and to eliminate stigma and discrimination and ensure full social, economic, and political inclusion in all aspects of community life. Here are the different ways you can donate. Those in the sanctuary may give cash, check, or donate electronically. Text to the number in your order of service or visit our website under the Giving page. If you are visiting for the first time, either in person or online, you are our guest. In-person attendees can find a physical visitor card in the pew racks in front of you. Please complete it and put it in the collection plate. Information about how to give online and how to complete the virtual visitor card will soon be shared with those live stream attendees. The offertory is a piece by Franz Schubert, who once wrote, "My compositions spring from my sorrows. Those that give the world the greatest delight were born of my deepest griefs." The offering will now be generously given and gratefully received.
Äußern und Wehen Tag
Thank you. That was beautiful. Those who wish to do so are invited to join in the unison affirmation. We gather not for ourselves alone, but to use our common power to build the beloved community within and beyond these walls. We reaffirm this covenant this day to make justice flourish, to practice compassion amidst difference, and to embody transformative love. Please rise in body or in spirit to join in singing our closing hymn, number 95, in the gray hymnal. There is much love. There's more love somewhere.
Within each of our hearts there is a most glorious light. Go forth and let its spark help you understand what troubles you and others. Go forth and let its light be a guide in your decisions. Go forth and bring its ray of hope to those in need of help in both body and spirit, that they may find healing. Go forth and fan the flames of passion to help heal our world. Go forth and spread the warm glow of love. Go forth and share your glorious light with the world. Amen.
chalice. We extinguish